Hello, so this video is about OHI. Unfortunately, not that long ago in history, many people with disability were regulated into institutions, hospitals, and mental health facilities. At best, their basic needs were met. At worst, they were crowded, neglected, and abused. They were separated from their families, who often were unable to provide adequate care. Rarely, if ever, were they thought to have talents and competencies that might allow them to live in and contribute to their communities. In fact, until the mid-1950s, much of the general public still cited early 20th century studies claiming people with mental retardation, a term no longer acceptable, instead referred to as intellectual developmental disabilities, were a menace to society and the cause of most crime, social ills, and even poverty. This mindset became the foundation of efforts to warehouse people with disabilities across the United States throughout the early 1900s. Change is possible. During the 1960s, racial minorities brought the issue of civil rights to the forefront of American society, paving the way for class action lawsuits on behalf of other minorities, including people with disabilities. During this time in history, Maine parents and other socially conscious citizens filed a class action suit in federal district court in Portland on behalf of residents of the Pineland Center in New Gloucester, called the Maine School for the Feeble-Minded, when it opened in 1908, citing appalling conditions and treatment. During the same time, advocacy for people with mental illness in Maine intensified, resulting in a new Bill of Rights, fewer people institutionalized at Augusta Mental Health Institute, now Riverview Psychiatric Center, and the elimination of unpaid labor. Consent decrees. One result was the Pineland Community Consent Decree, which covered about 1,000 people who had been involuntarily committed to Pineland on or after July 3, 1975. It set rigorous standards for treatment both at Pineland and for class members of the community. Another result was the Augusta Mental Health Institute Consent Decree, also called the AMHI Consent Decree, which resulted the state of Maine to establish and maintain a comprehensive mental health system based on people's needs with mental illness. So OHI founded. Those decrees, however, weren't enough for some people. Certainly not for Bonnie Jean Brooks, who believed two things: that everything is possible, and people with disabilities should be provided with opportunities and support services that allow them to be part of their families and live in the community. Fueled by the groundswell of support for people with disability, but knowing there was still a lot to be done, she quit her teaching job. In 1979, she founded the nonprofit Opportunity Housing, Inc., now called OHI. OHI's history began with 2 residential homes offering support services to people with disability, mental illness, intellectual disability, or both. OHI allowed them to set goals, make choices, and live and work within their communities. "40 years later. After 40 years of success and growth, OHI today supports nearly 600 people with disabilities in their own homes, apartments, one of OHI's staffed houses, and the community through varied support services. With OHI support, people with disabilities volunteer in hospitals, fire departments, animal shelters, and places of worship. This proves that everyone has the potential to be more independent and assess assets to their community, if given a chance and the right combination of support services." So one of the services they provide is skills development services. This service helps adults with mental health challenges or mental health and substance abuse disorders to increase their independence by learning skills. It is teaching-based. Service recipients can be living on their own with family or in residential treatment in certain cases, or may be homeless. Though the process of assessment and treatment plan development, interventions are tailored to meet individual needs, natural supports are incorporated to the degree the service recipient desires. So OHI also has residential treatment services. This service helps adults with mental health challenges or mental health and substance abuse challenges who have been unsuccessful living independently and require an intense level of support to remain in the community. The services provided via the mechanism of a community residence and prior authorization for the use of this service must be obtained from the State of Maine, Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Adult Mental Health Services. All locations comply with both Maine State mental health and assisted living license degree requirements. Individuals supported within these community residents have severe and persistent mental illness and a demonstrated need for residential care. OHI provides these services in 6 locations in the greater Bangor area, with some variation in levels of support, intensity, and specialization in specialized populations. The overall goal of the service is to help the recipient achieve stable, independent functioning, which will enable him or her to move on to permanent housing. So they also have behavioral health home services. Behavioral health home services provide a team-based approach to the integration of physical and behavioral services. It supports adults with mental health challenges who also want to support to improve their physical health and coordinate all their service providers. It also adds an intentional peer support component to help people develop natural and peer supports in the community. Service recipients may be living alone or in a group home setting or homeless. A behavioral health home is not a natural building, instead of a home that helps coordinate services. We also have community integration services. This is a case management service which helps adults with mental health challenges or mental health and substance abuse challenges who are struggling to live independently and coordinate needed services. Service recipients can be living on their own or with family in groups homes, or they can be homeless. Though the process of assessment and treatment plan developed, interventions are tailored to meet individual needs. Natural supports are incorporated to the degree the service recipient desires. So they also have intellectual disability services. With the help and support of OHI's intellectual disability services, people achieve their own personal milestones. OHI guides and teaches life lessons to help each person in their community. Emotional management and assistance in establishing strong relationships with friends and community members are also encouraged through OHI. So there's the Prader-Willi syndrome. OHI specializes in supporting adults with the syndrome, which is a genetic condition described primarily as a severe eating disorder that is left unchecked, leading to life-threatening obesity. OHI's intellectual disability services help monitor food intake, help develop exercise program, encourage community involvement, and coordinate necessary services. Self-advocacy. OHI strongly supports self-advocacy. In doing so, OHI encourages people to get involved in speaking up for us and local community groups. Special Olympics. OHI actively participates in Special Olympics throughout New England. From local to state to intentional competition, OHI supports people in preparing for and competing athletically in events of their choice. Special Olympics and OHI's involvement are highlighted events people look forward to socially while providing growth and personal achievement. They also help with the Brewer Area Food Pantry, which are operating hours and location located at 222 North Main Street. The facility opens 10 a.m. to noon on the first 4 Mondays and Wednesdays each month. The food pantry serves residents of Brewer and Eddington, Maine, who meet the U.S. Department of Agriculture Emergency Food Assistance Program income guidelines. The Brewer Area Food Pantry currently serves more than 900 households. About 64% of people supported by the food pantry are seniors and children. People need only to bring proof of residency with them when they register for their food pantry. Accepted form of proof of residency includes a piece of mail correspondent with the beneficiary name and address, a copy of a rental agreement or a lease. A driver's license or state identification is not accepted. They also have housing. At OHI, we know people with mental illness often have a hard time finding safe and affordable housing. Co-occurring mental health and substance abuse disorders can even make it harder. We see it all around us every day. Sometimes homelessness occurs after a psychiatric episode when people act out in a way that leads to eviction. And homelessness is a common situation for people re-entering the community from hospitalization or incarceration. We also know a safe living situation is essential before people can move ahead and become productive and more independent members of the community. OHI offers a variety of services designed to help people with disabilities access affordable housing and keep it. Permanent housing in the Bangor Greater Area. That includes therapeutic and rehabilitative services as needed, community integration services, daily living support, and/or skill development, and individual counseling services. So they have the Chalala House, Huntington's Apartments, and Rachel Houses, which offer safe, affordable housing for people with disability who are making the transition from homelessness, institutionalization, or supportive living to independence. So you can give them a call at the number located way at the bottom if you know someone who might be in need of these services. They also recently opened the Eagle's Nest Clubhouse. OHI Clubhouse is a mental health recovery and vocational rehabilitation program. It's one of 6 in the state of Maine, utilizing the Clubhouse model of psychiatric rehabilitation. It is modeled off the Fountain House in New York City, created in 1948 as a place of support for people with mental illness rather than a treatment facility. Clubhouses focus on the strengths, not illnesses. More than 400 clubhouses worldwide have modeled themselves after Fountain House, adopting the same basic principles that communicates a message of membership and belonging. This is a place where people can come and rebuild their lives. Participants are called members, not patients. The Clubhouse provides a place where self-confidence and hope for the future can be regained. Membership leads to continued growth, increased self-esteem, and a sense of empowerment. It offers members services such as job development, job placement, job coaching, transitional employment, long-term supported employment, and supported education. A clubhouse is first and foremost a community of people with mental health difficulties working together toward a common goal of recovery. Each member is a unique individual who possesses valuable talents, strengths, and abilities. When combined, these attributes assist in making the clubhouse come alive. So this is the last page, and I've got a address and the phone number you can call to find out anything you want about their services. So thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day.